Hello, everyone. Here I am, last day that I will be providing a video. Tomorrow will be my mama when she's going to guide you through mindful eating. Her expertise in mindfulness, she's an incredible mindfulness teacher that I've learned so much from. But today we're talking about omega-3s, omega-3 fatty acids. Sometimes I think my clients are going to disown me because of how much I talk about omega-3s and fatty acids. But we just don't get enough, and no one is getting enough, and they're just a powerhouse. They are so important to have on board. This is why the Mediterranean diet, the Japanese diet, all these diets have a lot of omega-3s on board, and these are some of the healthiest populations in our world, right? So omega-3s they're incredible for more reasons than one, but connecting them to our gut and gut health, they found that omega-3s support like the intestinal environment. First and foremost, they're anti-inflammatory for the entire body. And when it comes to gut health, we really want inflammation to be at bay in our guts. When we have inflammation in our guts and it's irritated and our gut health is off, that's when food allergies or food sensitivities come up. Leaky gut or breakdown of the intestinal barrier starts happening. Inflammation in the gut is going to, as I've said a million times over the last 5 days, it's really going to upset the whole system. When our gut is imbalanced and there's inflammation and things going on in our gut, you're going to see it in other places. You're going to see it in your skin. You're going to see it in your mood. You're going to see it in so many places. So one thing that we can really counteract that inflammation with is omega-3s. And they also found through a study that when people were given omega-3 supplements for a varied amount of time, this created a lot more butyrate producing bacteria. And why are butyrate producing bacteria really important? Because these little gut bugs are actually the ones that are going to decrease the inflammation levels in the body. So omega-3s are going to feed the butyrate producing bacterias, and then we're going to decrease inflammation in our body. That is just like a little tidbit. I had really bad eczema, and I had a naturopath who told me to start taking fish oil. It was something that I wasn't really doing. I wasn't really familiar with. This was many years ago. And so I started at a high dose, and I did that for a week. And then I started to notice my eczema was going away. And so then I brought it down, and my eczema completely was gone with that introduction of fish oil, omega-3 fatty acids into my diet. And I found through the years, whenever things start to get a little inflamed, a little upset, my eczema starts to come back, I really increase these omega-3s in my diet, more so than my habitual diet of omega-3s. And I really notice a difference. It really makes a difference. And so I can't stress it enough. Omega-3s are super important. One other little tip: if you are consuming a lot of omega-6s, if there are a lot of omega-6s in your diet, so these are going to be things like hydrogenated oils, different vegetable oils. Omega-6s are very high in the standard American diet. If that's something that you're consuming a lot of, they're going to kick out the omega-3s, right? So if someone has a diet that is full of omega-6s and they're taking an omega-3 supplement, it's a waste of money, because omega-6s are going to kind of take that gap, and we're going to just not utilize the omega-3s or absorb them. So reducing omega-6s in the diet and kind of balancing that, as well as incorporating more omega-3s, is really that sweet spot that we want. So on the menu tonight is salmon burgers. I got a nice piece of salmon from the Willie Food Co-op. Lovely, looks so good. And I'm gonna show you guys how to make these salmon burgers. We're also gonna have a side of slaw. So we're gonna have some prebiotics in that slaw. It's creamy with cashews, a little different than mayonnaise. And it's also gonna have some seaweed on board. So seaweed is actually what the salmon eats, right? So the seaweed is actually what helps salmon have so much omega-3s because of what they're eating in their diet, or the fish that they're eating eat a lot of the seaweed. So if you're vegan or vegetarian or plant-based or whatever your diet might be, and you can't consume omega-3s via the fish route, seaweed is a great thing to incorporate. So that's why it's in our coleslaw. And some other things that you can consume, plant-based forms of omega-3s are going to be flax seeds, walnuts, hemp seeds, chia seeds. These are all going to have forms of omega-3s and are going to be incredible for your diet. All right, let's get started. All right, so here I have my salmon. I still have skin on. You can buy it with skin off, but I thought I would show you. So you start to see that it's going to peel, right? And I'm just gonna peel that right off. So the skin is not good. Save it for your dog or someone that likes skin. There's a lot of nutrients in the skin. So this is about an 8-ounce piece because I had a 16-ounce piece of fish. The recipe for 2 burgers is gonna call for 8 ounces, an 8-ounce filet. I have my food processor. I'm just gonna cut this into chunks. And then I'm gonna place that in the freezer. The freezer kind of helps it kind of set. And so when it goes through the food processor, it doesn't become a paste and it's more chunky so that it really can firm up into those burgers. Okay, so while that's waiting, I have had these cashews soaking in hot water for about 30 minutes. The recipe says to soak for an hour or so, but I did hot water, so it kind of speeds up the process. And I'm gonna start making, while I'm waiting, the coleslaw. So I didn't have green cabbage, but I'm gonna use red. It might give it a little tinge, but that's okay. So we're gonna do 1 1/3 cup of cabbage. I'm just gonna peel those nasty ones aside. All right, so I have my peppers, my cucumbers, my cabbage, and my carrot all chopped up. That's ready. And then here I have my soaked cashews. Okay, cashews. 2 teaspoons of lime. Two teaspoons of coconut aminos. One teaspoon of sesame oil. A cup of water. I'm gonna blend that up. Now I added a tiny bit more water, but do as you like. And I'm just gonna pour this all over and combine it. Let this kind of sit, marinate for a little while in the fridge, but have fun with it, add whatever you like. The last step I'm gonna do is just tear up this seaweed and put it on top. But I'm gonna do that last because it's gonna get soggy. And then we can add a little bit of fresh sesame seeds too if you like. But there it is, looks delicious. Okay, so here we are back. I have that salmon in the freezer. I prepared my mixture that's gonna have the salmon. It has cilantro, ginger, sesame oil, coconut aminos, and some lime juice in there. Just a couple tips that I came across that I thought would be helpful sharing. Keep your cilantro fresh by keeping it in a mason jar with water in the fridge and then covering it with a bag. Keep it in and it'll last way longer than just in your fridge. The other tip that I had was my limes were super hard and the juice wasn't coming out. So I just nuke them in the microwave for about 15-30 seconds, even if that, and they get super easy to squeeze and you get a lot more juice out of them. So that's been chilling in the freezer. I'm just gonna pulse it 4 or 5 times and kind of break it up a little bit, and then we're gonna make them into burger patties. All right, there you have it. Mixed up, but not pasty. We don't want it to be pasty. We want it still to be chunky. There's a note in the in the recipe. If this mixture is too wet and it's not forming into patties easily, you can put the whole mixture in the freezer again for about 20 minutes, and then it'll stiffen up and be easier to make into patties. All right, there are my patties. I'm not quite gonna cook them just yet, so I'm gonna place them in the fridge just so they can keep firming up, and then I'll cook them and I'll show you when I do that. All right, so we have them over medium heat. A little bit of avocado oil drizzled down on that pan. I made sure the pan was super hot, and they did kind of fall apart a little bit. It's hard. Kind of got to keep them together with your hands and place them down. And if a little bit comes undone, you just push it together. But once they start cooking, they'll stay together. And I'll show you when I flip them. All right, now I flipped them, and again, they fell apart a tiny bit, but I just kind of smushed them back together, blend it down. And then I'm going to take this whole pan, cast iron, and I'm going to pop it into the oven that's preheated to 400 to complete the cooking. Right, there they are out of the oven. If you really are worried about them breaking apart, these stay together. There's a couple pieces that broke off a little bit. You can throw some almond flour in there if you'd like them to stay together a little better, but this is fine for me. They taste absolutely delicious. And yeah, thank you for following along, and get those omega-3s in, and have a wonderful night.